welcome to the SVG-TV news for Tuesday, March 9th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. For a second consecutive day, St. Vincent and the Grenadines recorded no new COVID-19 cases. A release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, yesterday evening said no new positive cases were recorded from 43 samples received and processed on Sunday. 73 persons were, however, cleared, bringing the total number of recoveries to 1,100. 555 cases remain active and 8 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,663 cases of the virus have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is urged to use a mask, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Meanwhile, the public is being reminded that the walk-in vaccination site at the Victoria Park is operating this week up to Saturday. As the national vaccination drive continues throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a number of police officers have been taking the opportunity to get vaccinated. In Georgetown on Saturday, officers at the Georgetown Police Station were among over 200 persons in the area who took the jab. Some of these persons shared with our news team why they decided to get vaccinated and encouraged others not to procrastinate.
This vaccine because I don't know when the opportunity will come for me to travel overseas or my work-wise, I usually be traveling on a daily basis, so I don't know who I may come about with the COVID and attract it.
It's important to take the vaccine because of my job, and I don't want to infect other people or people infecting me. So I think it's important to take the vaccine to help combat the spread, get the country moving forward.
I'm 21. I decided to take it because I believe in medical science, and I don't think that they would send us a vaccine if they didn't think it was the best thing to do for our health. And I would like to see the world open again and travel freely, so I'm not against it. And I would advise anyone who hasn't gotten it as yet to go and get it now while it's free, because you don't know when they're going to start putting a price tag on it.
It wasn't much of a problem. Simply that my pressure was a little bit high, but I was advised to take a little rest, and then it finally went down. Several reasons, scientific research proven the advantages. I travel to New York from time to time.
We'll tell them to trust in God and the vaccine will be just fine, and everything will be good. Just to take the vaccine, you'll feel much better.
Government Senator Kiesel Peters is also encouraging Vincentians, particularly women, to get vaccinated. She made the appeal at a virtual conference hosted last evening by the Gender Affairs Division and the Caribbean Institute for Women in Leadership to celebrate International Women's Day, observed under the theme, Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. The conference focused on hardworking women in the pandemic, and Peters, who serves as Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, noted that women in SVG continue to work the hardest in the pandemic, and to ease the pressure for things to get back to some form of normalcy, every Vincentian should get vaccinated.
Unless everybody is safe. And if we want to get back to a sense of normalcy, I would encourage persons to take the vaccines. You know, currently women, right now, I know everybody is feeling the pinch, but a lot of women now are feeling it because primarily they're the caregivers. You know, sometimes in some households, they're the only ones working. And depending on the type of work you're doing, you can be exposed to this virus. So I have been advocating and I've been encouraging persons to take the vaccines because the government, we've been working very hard to acquire them, and it would be a shame if they were to go to waste, especially given what we know regarding equitable access in other countries where some countries haven't seen one single vaccine yet.
President of the Nurses Association, Sister Cheryl-Ann Noel, was also on the panel and focused on the critical role of female nurses during the pandemic. She said that nurses are nurses are working hard every day to ensure that persons with COVID-19 get the best care possible.
I have the opportunity where I would have functioned at the maternity unit, medical and surgical, operating theater, recovery room, ICU. And currently I'm leading the emergency room team where shoulder to shoulder, we face up to the challenges in fight of COVID-19. In the face of anxiety, uncertainty, and isolation, nurses have proven tremendous commitment to patients, to the healthcare and the profession. As risk factors increase with the increase in numbers of COVID-19 personnel, the women, which are nurses I'm referring to, lead the way.
The conference was held under the theme, Salute the Capeless Sheroes, and Noel salutes all nurses for their dedication, bravery and commitment, not only during the pandemic, but every day on the job.
Men, which are nurses I'm referring to, lead the way in providing immediate and untiring health response. These nurses, what I can say about them, what I observe, that they are brave, selfless nurses who remain focused on doing their duty. Even though at times they may be fearful of contracting the condition, even myself, and also even infecting our loved one, we still execute our duties with great pride, and we place it as a priority. We put the lives of our loved one, the people in the community, at the forefront, as a priority for rendering care and ensuring that our community regain back to normalcy.
Since the outbreak of COVID-19 1 year ago, adjustments had to be made at the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital, especially for the female employees. Administrator of the hospital, Grace Walters, manages a staff of more than 500 at the institution, and being in a leadership position, she faced many challenges during the pandemic. Walters told SVG-TV News that as a woman, she has had to be understanding and supportive of her staff, noting that on many occasions, her staff had to make some painful decisions when it came to work and family life.
I speak specifically to those mothers who work at the hospital, who are on a shift system and have to be at the hospital particular times, especially when their children are now at home. Some of them have young children. I've seen mothers who are on the front line. I've seen mothers rushing off because they have to go home to take care of the children, to make sure that they attend the class that they're supposed to attend, to make sure that they log on to the system. Our conversations now are circled around, did your child get onto the system last night? Did you have problems with your internet as well?
Walters noted that when some staff members contracted COVID-19, it not only put added strain on the affected individuals, but their families and the remaining workers at the hospital.
Hospitalization. Some of them are scared, they're frightened because they have heard that COVID kills. In the international fields, you've heard that COVID kills. So some persons were frightened. Some persons were a little frustrated because for one reason or another, and some persons were confused because they didn't understand what was happening. And then there was the added challenge of them being apart from their families. Some people have young children who they had to separate to send to live with other people for that short space of time, and not being able to be in contact with your family. I mean, people would think that, okay, it's just 14 days or it's 21 days given the extent of the infection, right? Or it could be more depending on what your test results say when you're tested again. But you see, when you're in that situation, you appreciate the contact, the close contact, the just being there with your family, that helps you to get through the day.
The hospital administrator said staff also faced financial difficulties, as in some cases they are single parents or heading homes with their spouse in another country, battling the same problems.
Have had challenges from staff who had persons living abroad, like a spouse, who are abroad, and I've had staff said to me that they are so confused, they're frustrated because they do not understand and they do not know what is happening with their loved ones. They were single parent, pushed into single parent status because of the separation between their loved ones and what was happening in the countries. So their finances had to split. So the finance would be split between that spouse managing a home overseas or elsewhere and this spouse managing the rest of the family and themselves here. So it was a little difficult, and our staff members, their loved ones lost the jobs because, you know, there are persons who are married to people who are sailing and so on. So they were home for a while and they themselves were getting frustrated.
Walters noted that one of the challenges she faced to being in an administrative position during the pandemic was the timely sourcing of supplies and equipment for staff. However, she received support from the private sector, the Ministry of Health, and other ministries to ensure that there was no lack of resources for frontline workers at the hospital. And as we continue to highlight the work of women on the front lines battling COVID-19, our news team also got the opportunity on Monday, observed as International Women's Day, to speak with a number of the hardworking nurses at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital about how they have been managing during this difficult time.
It took a toll on everyone, but I had nurses who were dedicated and committed, and they went full force head on.
Mainly we focus on geriatric care. Those are the most vulnerable population presently, and in terms of managing COVID-19 and some of the challenges we encounter mainly is visiting, because seeing that we at a new location, everybody wants to come and visit to see what is happening, our layout, etc.
During this pandemic, I was responsible for ensuring that staff were deployed to the various isolation areas. We had to give support to the staff because it was a very emotional time for all of us.
One of the challenges that we faced during the pandemic was that of human resource. There were several staff members who were tested positive, and there were a lot more on quarantine, persons who were exposed awaiting their PCR results. So that became problematic at some point. We had to ask nurses, we have to ask staff members to work double shift.
The nurses thanked the heads of their respective departments, who are all females, for the support they have provided during the pandemic, which they all agreed came with great responsibility.
Women we know are strong, and during this crisis we have proved our tenacity and we have proved that we are strong.
All staff we support in everywhere, also the residents, and most importantly, all the staff and residents, we were tested. The results were negative and we're extremely happy.
Afraid of the unknown, there was little literature about COVID-19. We did not know what to expect, but with the support of our senior nursing officers and our other colleagues, we shared information among ourselves. Now, when you hear of a person experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, there isn't that fear anymore. You just go about and you do your job, you take your necessary precautions and get the job done.
Domestic violence is one of the major problems faced by females, especially during the pandemic, and social worker with the Ministry of National Mobilization, Barbara Charles, is urging men and young boys to stop the abuse against women and girls.
One day, this abuse has been going on for a while, and looking at what's happening here, it's not only affecting the woman who is abused, it affects the children. And when this affects the children, it spreads into society. And they grow up, children grow up with that same sort of behavior, seeing that their parents, and most time they see their father abuse women. I'm not saying women do abuse men, but when we have International Men's Day, I'll talk on behalf of the men. But for right now, this is International Women's Day. For today, no abuse. No abuse, and I'm talking about the physical, the verbal, the emotional, the withholding of monies. The withholding of monies. If you find that when you give her the money, she's not doing what you're supposed to, go with her. Go with her and ensure that she spend the money as she should. Because I know a lot of persons, you know, when you have money, you're going off track.
Charles encourages men to communicate more in their relationship and seek counseling to deal with their issues.
I'm saying to men, sometimes, I know this is COVID, it's a very rough time for everyone, but I'm saying, you know, sometimes you just have to sit back. I know women are not easy. You know, they can get you hyped up, especially when there's no money, they haven't got any money to spend. But people here need to communicate. We need to communicate with each other. Man and woman, intimate, you need to communicate. What I'm saying, there must be something, you may say, oh, miss, you don't know, you can't communicate with her, I can't communicate with him. But there must be some point in the relationship when you can talk to him or he can speak to you. And sometimes we need to find out what my partner needs. It's not hard. What are you expecting of me? Because you're being abused all the time and you still can't figure it. You say, miss, I'm doing everything, and he's still abusing.
The social worker also appeals to women to report all physical and sexual abuse to the police. She advised them not to wait until it's too late, as a lot of women have lost their lives because they have chosen to suffer in silence.
Women who are afraid, women who are in really bad relationship, I am applying to you too. Don't stay there, because if you stay there, nothing is going to happen. We at Gender Affairs is here. We are not miracle workers, but we will assist in some way or the other. So you can come to Gender Affairs and talk with us. Let's hear what's happening, and it's not an overnight thing. Whatever we can do on that day, we will do. And also, I think counseling is very important. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to say my business, but you know what? Your business is no business because it's all over. And counseling, talking about what somebody else is doing, and don't be ashamed. Come, you know, leave your home. Come, sit, let's talk. Let's talk about what is happening.
An update now on the La Soufrière volcano. On Monday evening, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said the gases from the new lava dome continue to cause damage to the vegetation on the hillside areas on the southwestern side of the volcano and have become more acidic, with the capacity to cause respiratory harm to human beings. NEMO said the gases can result in unconsciousness and even asphyxiation. It also noted that the acidity can have a corrosive effect on the skin and eyes, even with short exposure. The Disaster Management Organization said it is therefore imperative that persons avoid sightseeing at the volcano. NEMO further noted in its update that the monitoring team made another visit to the hot springs on the Walibu River for water sampling, gas and temperature measurements, and that measurements were also taken of carbon dioxide in the soil along the Walibu riverbed. The organization said clear weather conditions at the top of the volcano had also allowed for aerial photographs to be taken, but no volumes were obtained due to technical problems with the images. It said visual observations of inside the volcano during the visit confirmed that slow dome growth continues, with the southeastern front of the dome now in line with the pre-existing fumarole of the 1979 dome. Reminding the public that no evacuation order or notice has been issued, NEMO continues to appeal to persons to desist from visiting the La Soufrière volcano, especially going into the crater, since doing so is dangerous. As omnibus operators continue their strike action for a second day, President of the Vincentian Transportation Association, Vintus, Royron Adams, discussed the validity of the initial requests made by the association to the government in a telephone interview with SVG-TV News. Adams says omnibus associations across the region have received similar favorable concessions or incentives during the pandemic, and noted that what was requested by Vintus is not far-fetched or unreasonable, as some may claim.
I am in a chat group with the presidents from around the region, presidents of Omnibus Association from around the region. I can tell you that St. Lucia Omnibus Association, the National Council, have received $1.1 million in fuel rebates. But yet, Vintus asking for fuel reduction in St. Vincent is unreasonable. St. Lucia operators got their minibus operation license, which is $700 for every 2 years, waived. But Vintus asking for a waiver of vehicle license or 50% reduction is unreasonable. The cost of license in St. Vincent is $800. In Grenada is $375. St. Lucia is $150. So the plight of our industry, when compared to what's happening in and around us in our neighboring islands, I am saying that it is time that favorable consideration be given to minibus operators providing a public good as it relates to the cost of license.
Speaking directly on the issue of concession on parts for the omnibus operators, Adams clarified that the manufacturing age of most vehicles in SVG means that they are mainly 15 to 20 years old, and that concessions asked for are to help improve the quality and efficiency of the public transportation industry.
I would just take this opportunity to say to the government, Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Transport and Works, Minister of Health, to favorably consider our request. The churches have now been given an increased capacity of 1/3 of what they can entertain. We believe as a key production sector in transportation that we should be given favorable consideration to a minimum of 12. And that would allow all of our operators to operate without fear of being harassed by police here and there.
Adams also used the opportunity to issue a strong word of advice to operators whom he said may have been mobilized in an effort to undermine the actions being taken by Vintus and its members.
A message for those who believe that undermining the movement is in their best personal interest. This industry, the minibus industry, the public service sector industry, is bigger than all of us. It is bigger than every individual operator. And if you don't respect the industry, it would eat you up and spit you out like you've never been before. And it is a reason why a number of operators who have passed through, this industry no longer exist in the industry for lack of respect for the industry.
And omnibus operators continue to share their experiences operating in the present conditions as stipulated by the public health measures, which has restricted their capacity to 8 paying passengers. Speaking with SVG-TV News, an operator from the Villa Glen route is of the view that omnibus operators are being unfairly targeted and ticketed.
We have to carry 8 passengers. If we carry 1 passenger more, we are getting a ticket for $100. If there's a child in our bus, we are getting a ticket for $100 for a child. And it just not feasible operating under these conditions at this point in time. We also receive ticket for, like my conductor received a ticket for his mask below his nose.
How much?
Of $100.
No warning given?
No warning given, not put him mask properly. And I show the officer who gave him that ticket, look the amount of people around us presently who do not have a mask and have the mask below the nose and the mouth, and they're not giving those people tickets. So like they only have strength for van man, basically. Once you operate in a bus, this is the kind of treatment we are getting, and we are giving back a tremendous service.
Another group of operators said that it is difficult for them to make ends meet as they continue to operate at a loss, despite the government pledging a $500 subsidy.
To work with 8 passengers every day, and you have your loan for your property to deal with, it very hard, and also other bills, especially if you're the breadwinner in the family, it's hard. And I mean, I'm not against going out there and work at least in 3 passengers on a seat, right? And I think it'll go a long way if we do that. And if I agree, if the officer come now and meet you with an extra different than the 3 on the seat, I give them all right to do what they have to do, take action. But I mean, traveling with 2 on the seat, it don't add up, because you have your conductor to pay when the week done, $300, $350 a week, and plus you have to pay yourself, you have to put food on the table, and it's difficult to keep up.
Yeah, because right now we're currently operating at a loss where we're losing at least $200 to $250 a day. And when they give us back the $500 now, at the end of the month, it comes like they're only giving us $25 a day. So clearly that you can't pay a conductor $25 a day. So it makes sense.
On Monday, the Vincentian Transportation Association and its members announced the withdrawal of their services for 3 days. However, some operators say they are willing to continue the action until the authorities increase the passenger capacity to at least 12, which they say will put them in a better position to meet their expenses. The fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic has been felt in every corner of society, and the cultural art form is no exception. Speaking with SVG-TV News, veteran mass man Elroy Blondybird Boyd shared the struggles he and his team have been facing since the onset of the pandemic, which has led to the cancellation of Vincy Mass in 2020 and threatens the hosting of the festival, dubbed the hottest carnival in the Caribbean, for a second year. Boyd says he wishes some assistance could have been given to mass men to help them offset their costs, as they are struggling financially.
$100, right? Because he lived better, he didn't invest nothing, right? He invests nothing, he get $300, and he invests nothing. The fellow who build the shop on them, half the stone, he get $2,500. He invests nothing. I could have just go out there and put up a shop, I would get $2,500. You think I don't invest $40? What we going to do? What we doing like we and other groups, not me alone, because I know almost all the bands, especially the bigger bands like Bex Gonsav and them, and so they don't invest. When the thing come off now, don't forget when the thing call off, we don't invest the money, you know. Majority we go how we think, but we compensate for what we don't spend. Now what we going to do? Why they go get that? Which somehow the bands could get a little thing to offset we. Although we had the thing, but we can't use them, and we don't know when we're going to use them.
Blondie, as he is affectionately known, said the assistance the band usually offers to persons after the carnival celebration had to be put on hold.
Let me put it this way, about 10 people, 15 people, right? Let's walk out with 4 million people, right? I think the government, for instance, they gave a stipend, right, when they start, $1,000, right?
To you guys?
Yeah, right. The men when you walk, but if you walk in a tent, you ain't getting that no. So for instance, there's 2 guys in our tent get that. Because if you walk in, you ain't getting that, but it are people depending, and when we done carnival, any position we come, we just bring carnival in a way that some of the girls who just walk with, we have kids. They just depend on we, sometimes to give them money to help buy the school book for go back. Remember, after carnival, the school back out, you know, to help for go school. We just do that, no. We just give her something, she go help buy she children books to go school. They say, I don't know, they make it because we know they didn't have no carnival.
As a true mass man, Boyd used the opportunity to show our news team the carnival-inspired masks he has been creating in the face of the pandemic.
Remember, the mask thing now is the thing. And that's the only way now you could get a little money because I could sell for $5 and $7 and thing, and people like mine own because it's carnival material and them kind of thing I using. So I know woman like pretty thing. So right now, Blondie Board and friends, we are accustomed to build masks. Only say we building the one now for the virus. Because we build them every year. But we build them so you can pass up the mask tent. Anybody who want a mask, go pass up the mask, they hang up there, you choose any color you want, and think $5, $7, you choose any color you want.
There has been no word yet on carnival activities for this year. However, many hold doubts that it will be possible. The RSVG police force is investigating the death of an elderly man of Barrowley. According to the police, around 8:45 this morning, officers stationed at the SVG Coast Guard base in Caliacqua received a report of what appeared to be a body floating offshore in the waters at Villa. The Coast Guard responded and retrieved the unresponsive body from the water in the vicinity of Young Island and Rockfort. The body was later identified as Lorraine Sinclair Williams, an 84-year-old resident of Barrowley. At the time of the discovery, Williams was wearing a black and gray t-shirt and a purple, gray, white and black shorts. The body was taken to the Caliacqua base, the Coast Guard base at Caliacqua, where it was pronounced dead by the district medical officer. A post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted on the body. The SVG Gospel Fest Committee is set to launch Digicel SVG Gospel Fest 2021 with a special national and interdenominational program, Heal Our Nation, an evening of prayers and praise for St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Sunday, April 4th. The committee says the Heal Our Nation event would involve church leaders offering special prayers for the country, along with worship teams from 9 major denominations in the country in praise. The purpose being to seek God's divine intervention with all that the country is facing at this time, which includes a dengue fever outbreak, the spread of the COVID-19 virus, the threat of the La Soufrière volcano, the current dry spell, and the upcoming hurricane season. Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs Curtis King and Leader of the Opposition Dr. Godwin Friday are expected to deliver addresses to the nation, with the Reverend Adolph Davis of the Methodist Church presenting the word based on the theme of the evening. The guest artist will be Vincentian Ronnie Richardson. The program is scheduled to commence at 5 p.m. at the Faith Temple Church in New Montrose, with live broadcasts on all radio, television, and various social media platforms. Digicel SVG, that should be Digicel SVG Gospel Fest, now into its 19th year, will run from April 24th to 25th under the theme, A Glorious Celebration of the Gospel of Jesus Christ.